Hey guys, it's Rachel with Pretty in Plants and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for coming. I'm here to talk about plants and especially going to be focusing on semi-hydro and water. Hydro is kind of what I'm doing with all of my plants. I'm converting them to semi-hydro, and the most important part I had orchids in semi-hydro, now I'm putting houseplants in semi-hydro, and I am loving it. I'm loving the results. And as I learn things, I want to share them with you. So recently I called my friend Jerry. Jerry is an elderly gentleman who has been doing semi-hydroponics for 30 years. So I really glean from Jerry. He has a website. It's Easy Grow Hydro. He sells special pots for semi-hydroponic that give you a water reading. I love his pots, but most of all, I really love his knowledge because he's been doing this for so many years. So recently I called Jerry and just asked him more about watering. I started my watering program like most people. I watched some YouTubes and I thought you needed a 3-part system and measure the pH and measure this and measure that. And my plants actually were a little stressed out from all of that, and I was too. So I called Jerry a couple of months ago about that, and he said, no, all you need to do is Foliage Pro below. It's one product. You add it to water. I do reverse osmosis water, but you can use a Brita if you have hard water or water that's full of chlorine. First, transplant your plant from dirt to semi-hydro. What should I use for water? And he said no nutrients. So the first 3 to 4 weeks, if you want to go to semi-hydro and you don't have any nutrients or you haven't decided what nutrient system you're going to use, great, because all you need is water. Apparently the nutrients really stress out plants when they first go into semi-hydro. You can do Super Thrive, which I talk about in another video. And Super Thrive is 1 drop per cup of water. So if you use a cup of water for your new plant, it's gonna have 1 drop of Super Thrive, and that's it. Another product that Jerry really likes is KLN. It's a root stimulant. I will also put that on the screen. And I have more experience with Super Thrive. I have the KLN. I just love Super Thrive, and so that for 3 to 4 weeks. That way your plant won't get shocked or stressed as much as if you just throw them into semi-hydro and throw a bunch of nutrients on them. Acquired a couple of more collector's plants. They're real expensive. They were several $100s each. And so I really wanted them to do well. And he said if you apply heat to the roots, like put it on a warm mat, put it on top of your refrigerator, just kind of keep it a little warm, the roots will push out faster. The other tip he had was to take it all the way and do warmth plus extra humidity. Now, you don't have to do the humidity forever, but if you do it for the first 3 to 4 weeks of having the plant, plus these other things, you're just setting yourself up for immense success in semi-hydroponics. So that's your first month of watering and your first month of care. Now, once you go to adding your nutrients, you're gonna do purified water or reverse osmosis water and Foliage Pro or Grow, and those are linked below. Next thing I wanna talk about is how to figure out if your plant needs to be watered. Now, I have the little pop-up things on my plants, and a good example because this plant, it's got a little tiny bit of yellowing, and so I actually have it outside of its pot airing out, and I want it to get really dry before I water it again. I noticed 1 yellow leaf and there's water, and that's the water, but this is actually a great example. And my reader is on 0. but is this plant ready to be watered? And the answer is absolutely not. And so when you pick your pot up, if it's ready to be watered, it's actually pretty light. It's the same thing as soil. If your pot is kind of heavy, it probably has water being retained in the soil. I took 2 pots of leca. One was dry leca, and they were both 36 ounces of dry leca. I took 2 separate pots. One of them I saturated with water, and then I weighed it, and it was 41.5 ounces. That's almost 6 ounces more of weight. And you can feel that. This pot feels heavy. That's because all of the leca inside of here is full of water. And if the leca is full of water, then the roots are super wet. So I'm not gonna water until next Saturday. I'm gonna let it get really dry. So in semi-hydroponics, it's important to have a wet-dry cycle where the plant drinks all of its water and dries, gets kind of dry, and then you add more water. If it's not quite dried out and the pot's still heavy, but there's no water in the bottom, and you just add water to it, that's when you can run into problems. So people ask me about the wet-dry cycle. That's the cycle. And once your plant is really going, and it can handle water, its roots will even grow down into the bottom, and they'll thrive in the water. They'll get adapted to living in the water. Now you're kind of on a roll, but don't put the water level inside high. Keep it a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And probably the good rule probably for watering is that at the end of 2 weeks, it will be completely dry. That's a nice cycle. If you can get every 2 to 3 week cycle, now you're kind of in a good groove. But just pay special attention to it at the beginning. Another way to tell if it needs water, like sometimes I'll pick it up and the pot feels kind of light, and I can't tell, the balls look kind of damp, but they're not that wet looking. But then if I stick my finger in by the roots and feel the roots, they're cold and damp, and I know, oh, the roots are so wet. And that's a really important tip for your bigger plants. Like I have really tall trees in semi-hydroponics, and sometimes those take a whole month to dry out. So I stick my fingers in and I feel the roots, and that helps me on my bigger, like Monstera deliciosa and my big pots and trees. Of my watering tips, as I learn more, I will share with y'all. I am working on keeping some of my newer plants warm and damp, and so I'm going to be making a little makeshift greenhouse, and this big by this big. It won't be huge, but I want to show y'all that. So anyway, if y'all have any questions about watering, let me know. I am constantly picking other people's brains and trying to find the best way to water, but I need it to be easy and not a whole lot of trouble, because we're a busy household. I have a lot of plants to care for, and semi-hydroponics should make my life easier and not more difficult. So that's my goal with this channel, how to raise plants the easiest and have them be happy and thriving, but me not stressed out. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video on the watering and the semi-hydroponics, and I cannot wait to pass on more information. I'm trying to plant every single kind of plant into semi-hydroponics. One more thing about the warm mat and keeping the roots warm. The one plant you don't want to do that with, when you convert it to semi-hydroponics, there is a plant species that doesn't like warmth on its roots, and it's begonias. I got my first begonias this week, and these look like they need to be watered, but these are the Rex begonias, and I actually got 3, and I'm gonna put them into semi-hydroponics. Look at those gorgeous leaves. I'm gonna put them in semi-hydroponics maybe now because they're dry for these 4-inch pots. So it was for $12. I got a pretty nice display. Okay, so I'll show you one more of my new begonias. The begonia rhizomatis, which I think is like a hybrid or something. Look at those leaves. Aren't they so pretty? I don't know if this one, okay, this one's still wet. They just, it makes me nervous because they are kind of like soft and elegant looking. And I don't know if y'all can tell by my personality and my music choices. No matter how soft and elegant I try to be, I'm kind of like a bull in a china shop. So we'll see how begonias do in my house. I will give y'all an update. I have not put them in semi-hydro yet. They're kind of new and I want them to live. So thanks friends for coming. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to comment below if you have any more questions about watering, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, bye-bye.